When I was doing the research to buy my Cessna 182, prices seemed to be like all over the map. I mean, 2 to 3, 4, 5 times different from one airplane to the next. And it seemed a little confusing to me until I realized that there's a handful of things that I think significantly drive the price. And when you can learn what those things are, it makes your research from airplane to airplane, I think, a lot more efficient, because you can start to be like, oh, that's why that one, might cost more or might cost less, right? And then you can kind of start to compare one another. Even though it seems apples to oranges, we can make it apples to apples. So I'm going to cover those in this video, and then cover a live example online and show you where you can find these things in real online listings. And then at the end, I'm going to share a video with you that talks about the ownership costs of aircraft, because it's not just the purchase price that you ought to keep in mind. So just want to make sure, kind of round out the information here with that video also. So once you've identified the kind of aircraft that you want, this video is going to help you be able to compare the price differences between two. Now, it's not going to help you compare like a 150 versus a 180 or something, because those are two totally separate aircraft. But once you have the aircraft in mind, this will help you better diagnose why the prices are so much different from one aircraft to the next. Now, if you're buying a jet or something, most of this will apply, but not all of it, right? But this is kind of more for single engine piston aircraft. So with all of that in mind, let's dive in. So in no particular order, number one is the model or the year, which can kind of be two sides of the same coin, because certain models will be produced for more than 1 year, perhaps. But once you've decided on which aircraft you're interested in, I highly recommend that you go research the model history of that aircraft. Understand, what did they change from model to model? Go read as many forums as you can to understand the quirks associated with each of those those production models and such, because while it's generally true that newer airplanes will be more expensive than older airplanes, in certain model histories, that might not be the case, because certain new model introductions might be worth less because they're more prone to malfunctions and things. And so you can kind of start to get a feel for, oh, this certain model of aircraft is worth more than others historically, and that sort of thing. So first thing out of the gate, you want to understand the year and the model of the aircraft. Number two is total time of the airframe, or how many hours has the aircraft flown. And this is kind of similar to how many miles does a car have, right? How much has it been through? If you're looking at like 172s, for example, there might be a huge difference from one listing to the next, and that might be indicative of that airplane having been used as a trainer aircraft, right? So the airframe is likely just gone through more stress. It's gone through more landings, gone through more stuff, right? So not necessarily like a deterrent, but something good to know and something that will definitely impact the price. Number three, and this is a big one, is total time on the engine, and to a lesser extent, the total time on the propeller, the prop, but certainly time on the engine. As you probably already know, engines have a life expectancy, we'll call it. It's a time before overhaul, or TBO, and it's a time until the manufacturer recommends that you're going to need to replace or overhaul this engine just due to wear and tear, right? And so as the engine gets closer and closer to that TBO, which is in single engine pistons, commonly it's 1,500 to 2,000 hours, but that totally depends on the engine. As it gets closer to that, you are closer to having to incur that cost, right? And that cost could be 20 grand, it could be 50 grand or more. It really just depends on the engine. And so that will definitely be reflected in the price. A lot of times aircraft will be priced a lot lower, knowing that whoever buys this is going to have to drop a new engine in it the moment they buy it. And so, there's definitely exceptions to this, like Mike Bush, a popular author and mechanic. His book on engines, which I'm reading right now, he's a big proponent that, hey, you don't just have to replace the engine at TBO. It really needs to be, based on the actual engine's health and such. But I think as a general rule, when you're looking at listings, you can start to understand, man, if this engine has 2,200 hours on it and the TBO was at 1,500 or something, likely there's a lot of expense I'm about to incur. And so that's absolutely driving the price whenever you look at listings. Number four is exterior and paint. If someone just dropped a new paint job on the aircraft, a lot of times this can run you $10,000 to $15,000, really, depending on what you had done to it and depending on, the size of the aircraft and such. But a new paint job is worth money, right? And so if the aircraft needs a new paint job really, really badly, or it just got a fresh one, this will usually be represented in the price. Number five is the interior. So just like a exterior paint job is worth a lot of money, the inside of the airplane is worth a lot of money too. So is it in really, really bad shape, or did they just outfit the entire inside of the aircraft with brand new carpet, new upholstery, new seats? What does it have in it? The interior of the airplane definitely drives the price also. Number six is avionics, and man, can this really swing the price. If someone completely upgraded the panel and took it all from steam gauges to all glass panels, that's going to obviously drive the price a lot. The good thing is you can see what they've put in it and you know about how much that costs, so you can kind of understand, or hey, are they asking for a lot more than this thing's worth, or is that about right? On the flip side, you can understand, man, if this is just a stock panel and I need to do some upgrades, you can start to build that into your own pricing model to know, okay, well, the airplane is worth X, but I'm gonna have to put in Y to it, to get it to where I want. So avionics can just be a huge factor in swinging the overall price of the aircraft. Number 7 is other upgrades and modifications, and this could have a wide array of things. Anything from an upgraded engine, it's not the stock engine, it's a bigger one than what normally came in that aircraft. It could be a new and improved propeller, it could be a STOL kit, it could be a float kit, it could be an airframe parachute. I mean, the list goes on, and so just other general upgrades and modifications will definitely start to drive the price. There are 2 more important factors I want to cover, but just real quick, I want to ask, if you have found this video valuable and you're not yet subscribed to Airplane Academy, I just want to invite you to consider subscribing. All my other videos on this channel I think are pretty similar to this, and then I try to look back on my own experience, things I've learned, things I've screwed up and learned from, and try to package it in a digestible format here that can be easy to understand by aspiring and experienced pilots alike. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested, I really ask you to subscribe and never miss a future video. Number 8 is lost logbooks. The logbooks of an aircraft are really its autobiography. It tells you everything that's been done to the engine, the propeller, the airframe, and if an airplane is missing these logbooks for a period of its history or maybe all of its history, then this is just a huge black hole into what happened during those years of the airplane's life. It tells you everything. And so that's not necessarily a deal breaker for some people to, buy an airplane that doesn't have complete logbooks. But personally, I want to be able to see everything just for the integrity of it. And so there's been a lot of deals that I've seen online where an airplane looks like it's checking all these boxes that we've been covering in this video. And I start to get a little suspicious. Hey, why does it look low? And a lot of times the logbooks can be in play here. If you've lost the logbooks, it can significantly impact the price of that aircraft. And number 9 is damage history. And this can have a wide array as to what constitutes damage. I mean, yes, it could be like an accident or a prop strike or something, but it could also be things like natural disasters where, maybe the roof of a hangar fell in on the aircraft and damaged it. Or it could also be things like corrosion or hail damage, right? There's a wide spectrum here, but just something you'll want to be on the lookout for. Again, certainly not a deal breaker. And if you're looking for a much older aircraft, sometimes having a little bit of damage history is going to start to be inevitable just because the airplane's been around for much longer. But this goes also back to logbooks and why logbook entries are so important, because if the aircraft did have a damage event, you really want to understand everything that was done to that aircraft, to correct it, right? And so look out for damage history. It can definitely impact the price of the aircraft. So the good thing is all of this information is super easy to find, and you can develop a scan as you're looking through online listings to quickly, float through all of these 9 items. So let's hop over to Trade-A-Plane and get on the computer here, and I'll just show you an example of a live listing and where you can find this stuff. Okay, so looking at this 182 listing, and I don't know anything about this listing or the owner, so Scott from Sparta Aero Services, hello. We've never met, but I'm looking at your airplane here. At the top, you can quickly kind of see the year, the make, and the model, and then also where it's located. That'll check off a few items here. And then scrolling down, all of the information I just covered is all cleanly represented here. And it'll be similar on other sites like Controller and Wing Swap and some different places, but I really love how Trade-A-Plane organizes this. So in the top left box here, we can cover a lot of the items we just mentioned. Here's total time of the aircraft. We've got the engine time since major overhaul, the prop time since major overhaul, the year painted. This isn't always listed, but it's nice when it is. And then the interior year. Avionics and equipment, we can see what it's equipped with currently and things that they might have added along the way. So that gives us a lot of detail. On the left, we see the engine, so we can see if they might have upgraded it to one that wasn't stock. You can see other modifications and the propeller here. So sometimes this section can be filled with all kinds of stuff and modifications that can significantly be driving the price. In the top right, detailed description. Sometimes, you might see the listing for lost logbooks or damage history or things here. So you just want to read through the detailed description. It might check off a few of those items that we covered. Airframe section is similar here. Can give you more detail about the airplane and check off a few more of those items. And then beneath it is interior and exterior. So if they got an upgraded paint job or if they replaced all of the interior, all that information is going to be here for you. And then at the bottom, the remarks section, sometimes they can sneak little things into here like, oh, we're missing a few years of the logs, or yeah, it was in a prop strike, but it's been fixed, but we're missing the log books for the prop strike entry, stuff like that. You just want to be on the lookout for. Remarks is going to get you the rest of the way through covering the items we just mentioned. So what you can start to do is build a scan, to digest this information really quickly. So as you're looking, from one listing to the next, you can start to get a better idea of why these planes are priced the way they are. I would suggest taking things a step further if you're really seriously on the hunt for an aircraft and start to put together an Excel model of these listings, because the listings don't stay up for forever. Once they get sold, they get taken down and such. So you need to kind of document for yourself here, a database of 100 different aircraft and kind of why they were priced the way they were, and maybe leave some notes for yourself as to what you think was driving the price. And that's going to help you better spot, a good deal for yourself in the future when you're ready to purchase an aircraft. That's what I started to do for the 182, and it was super, super helpful for me. But purchase price is only the starting point of buying an aircraft. Once you buy it, it's a common phrase actually, the purchase price is the cheapest part of buying an airplane, because there's so many other ownership costs that go along with it. And so to help round that out, as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, up in the corner and down in the description is a video I put together talking about the ownership costs of 7 aircraft that are traditionally kind of viewed as entry level, but all airplanes are expensive. But I think it's going to give helpful and accurate views about how much these airplanes can cost all in to own and operate on a monthly basis. And so I hope that's helpful. And again, if you found this video helpful, I really encourage you to consider subscribing if you're not already. But either way, thanks for watching. I'll talk to you guys down in the comments, and I'll see you in next week's video.